Hubert Humphrey put it well. He said there are not enough jails, not enough policemen, not enough courts to enforce a law not supported by the people. End of quote. And make no mistake about it, abortion on demand is not supported by the vast majority of the people of this country. 20 years after Roe versus Wade, all of these sophisticated people pushing abortion on demand have come to realize they've been hammering a square peg into a round hole. It just hasn't taken, and it's a passing phenomenon which will pass in due course into oblivion. But you know, to hear some of the lawyers that defend the other side, hear them speak today, you think the right to abortion was of unassailable legal origin, an idea we could trace straight back to the Magna Carta. To deny the premise of Roe, they say, is to set oneself at odds with the whole movement of Western civilization and of civil liberties generally. But in fact, of course, if you look at the decision as a lawyer and you analyze that decision, it was anything but a natural adaptation in our constitutional evolution. It was very different from Brown versus Board of Education, for example, a decision that extended law and liberty to an excluded class who had been second-class citizens up until that point. Because, you know, America can't abide second-class citizens. We reach out and correct these inequities in every other case, except this one case I'm talking about here today. Minorities, women, children worked 15 hours a day, elderly, handicapped. We change those conditions by the force of law, not as a matter of voluntary action, by the force of law. And some of those on the other side of this issue are for the most intrusive kind of government in all other applications, except in this one case. Unlike Brown versus Board of Education, Roe versus Wade was exactly the opposite. It didn't extend protection to an excluded class. It was an abrupt mutation, an aberration, a defiance of all precedent. It arose not from the wisdom of the ages or the voice of the people, but from the ideology of the day and the will of a determined minority. Roe versus Wade was the case of 7 men casting aside and rendering moot the laws of all 50 states of this country. In Brown, the court said, no, separate is not equal. No, you can't write off an entire class of people as somehow lesser beings. No, it's not for the government to draw dividing lines across humanity. That's why after 2 generations we look to this decision with reverence and with no dissent. They're not picketing today saying, overrule Brown versus Board of Education. Why not? Because it did the right thing, and it has the support of right-thinking people everywhere in this country. That's why. That's the difference. But in Roe, Justice Blackmun took his pen and said, in essence, well, all right, we're going to draw the dividing line right here, right between the unborn child and the other members of the human family. We're going to do it by government, by an edict, by a one-size-fits-all decision. We're going to read the people out of this decision. State legislatures are gone. You don't get to vote on this anymore in Missouri and Pennsylvania and Texas and California and Massachusetts. We've decided one size fits all. And it's abortion on demand. Take it or leave it. That's the law. It's gone down very hard. It's still like a bone in our throat as a people. We cannot assimilate it. That's why after a whole generation, 20 years of brainwashing and promoting and hyping and misrepresenting, I might say, the effect of that decision, it still hasn't taken. And we look back to that decision in 1973 with deep collective unease as a people. Even those that claim to defend it are very uneasy about this whole question. Our president says he wants to make abortion safe, legal, and rare. Why does he put it that way? We don't say we want to make the right to freedom of speech safe, legal, and rare. We want to expand it, defend it. We're not ashamed of it. It's a constitutional right. It's right in the language of our Constitution. What about freedom of religion? What about freedom of press? We want to make them safe, legal, and rare? No. We want to expand them. Fight for them. Proud of them. But not this right. This right is different. We've got to make it safe, legal, and rare. You know why? Because abortion's a dirty business. That's why. Everybody knows it, including the ones that are involved in it, it seems to me. So you've got to make it safe, legal, and rare. And instead, they've made it safe, legal, and everywhere. That's what our federal government's up to right now. Make it safe, legal, and everywhere. You take any lawyer that ever cited Roe, with all of its bizarre penumbras and emanations of penumbras and looking into the interstices of this, that, and the other thing, and all that legal mumbo-jumbo that they used to rationalize that result. No lawyer defends it as a model of legal reasoning, quite the contrary. It's one of the badly kept secrets of our profession that among themselves lawyers rarely defend it as a model of legal reasoning. Even pro-choice lawyers, good ones, have taken it apart. In recent years, we've witnessed the resignation of several Supreme Court justices. The marked difference in the tone and content of the public commentary on respective departures makes the point. It tells a very important story for anyone starting out in the law, for anyone who would aspire to true leadership by defending life. On the one side, you've got Justice Thurgood Marshall and Henry Blackmun. When they stepped down, they were lauded and profiled extensively. The praise from the mainstream media was fulsome. Justice Blackmun, in particular, was singled out for praise for the one opinion for which he will be remembered. Now contrast that treatment with the treatment accorded to Justices Rehnquist and White, who dissented in Roe, and Scalia and Thomas, who have called for the overruling of Roe. In the newspapers and on television, we see no admiring profiles about them, no accolades, no encomia, no newfound respect. In some cases, outright virulent hostility.